All right, last time you saw the Robbins project, we were up in the Adirondacks. We're looking at the carriage house, doing some site stuff. We're installing windows at one point. Figured to take a step back, show you guys a little bit of the design world, a little bit of the computer 3D modeling before we got to that build phase. So as you can see by my screen, we've got this carriage house. This is the Revit model we've got of it. This is the software we use from schematic design all the way through design development and then ultimately to construction documentation. The software really makes it nice and easy as far as the workflow. So the initial concept for this carriage house was obviously this old monitor style barn, have these dual height roofs. The intent of this garage shape was to do a 40 by 40 garage, and they wanted to fit 3 cars and possibly an additional car. So the idea of a car lift was introduced, and instead of making it a traditional pole barn shape and making the entire roof taller, we thought it'd be nice to kind of break that up. So this middle bay ends up being the bay for the car lift. And we'll get into the floor plan here to kind of walk you through some of this and why we designed it the way we did. So we've got 3 car bays. We've got them labeled here. These 2 outlying car bays with the lower roof line, that's going to be car bay 1 and car bay 3. These car bays are going to have a carriage house door that outswings. So you can imagine manual hardware. You open those doors up, you can park the cars in there. That'll be more of like the dailies. The daily cars, the daily driven cars would go there. And then this middle space, we have operable garage door that opens vertically. We'll get into that detail in a little bit. You can see we've got a 2-post lift in the middle. This ended up being a bend pack lift specified by the homeowner. He was looking into some different car lifts. This is the one we ended up specifying in the project. So I modeled that in there just to make sure we had the appropriate clearances required for both maximum lift height and allowable space around the lift. And you can see I just dimensioned in a rough size of a typical car and what that looks like as far as the space around that. And then getting into the back portion of the carriage house, they wanted to have some extra functions that were outside of the residence. The residence is phase 2 part of the project. There's an existing cabin there right now. But we're actually designing a new house for them. But they wanted to have a gym and bathroom and sauna added to the back of this garage. So in this back corner, this is nice window wall with French doors that swing out. You saw that in person when we were up there last. We've got, small gym, leads right into this bathroom space, typical bathroom layout. And then we've got a small 6x6 space for a sauna. This would likely be a custom-built sauna, just ordering, big pack of cedar, and they're planning on doing an electric Hume Hive sauna heater in there. So that'll just be hooked up to 240 volt. Right next to it, we've got the carriage house mechanical closet. This is going to house, water heater, the electrical demands for the building, some other things that would be required in the mechanical space. And then we've got a general storage room. This is where we'll have the utility sink, washer dryer combo just for cleaning shop rags and other gym equipment and so on. Just to have a dedicated washer dryer in that garage space will be super helpful for them. And that storage space is able to be closed off, so that way you can kind of take some of the more not as sightly things that go in a storage room and kind of close them off if you need to, leaving these car bays nice and open. And you can see in the center of the space, we've got a staircase. So this leads up to a loft. Another nice part about having the dual height roof is you've gained loft space in the back. This was really important to them. They wanted to be able to have a space that they can hang out and kind of look down on their cars. They'd have that lift, so you can imagine if they're storing a car up on the lift. It's not usually recommended that you stack cars with 2 lifts, but some people do anyways. So if they're stacking cars on that lift, they can hang out in the loft, kind of have a drink, hang out with some friends, look over the cars. They've got the upper windows, these 8 foot wide by 2 foot tall windows in the transition space between the roof lines that'll really filter light in there. And then they can even treat this loft as a guest space. If they have company over and the company's there for maybe a little more long term, this can become a bedroom space. They've got a dedicated bathroom in this garage with shower, so they've got all the amenities they need to actually rent out that space or just have family or friends stay there. Another addition that was really important to them is a stone fireplace. So this loft would also have a stone fireplace on the upstairs, which was an important detail to figure out if we're looking at the CD or the 3D view again. You can see on the back of this carriage house, we've got this stone fireplace designed in here. Now we have it framed all the way to the first floor, obviously because we didn't want to do some sort of floating detail. It just didn't feel right to have kind of this monolith heavy object float and start at the second story. So really this downstairs is just framed in, just unused space, and then aesthetically goes to the ground, and then upstairs is where that actual chimney and fireplace begins. So it's really a short roof stack single story setup, but appearance of 2-story. And while we're on this 3D, you can start to see those windows that we put in. We put in Colby windows. We actually use their models. They have pretty good models to use. So we were able to pick everything as far as even the flanker windows, the layouts of those, the grid styles, all in this modeling software. So we can predetermine some of these decisions well before ordering those window packages. And you can see there are some small details, just like lining up the divide lights for the doors and windows. You know, the door typically would have more or less, but we determined off of the 3D model that, you know, this layout worked the best with the windows to give that nice clean appearance. And then going back into the floor plan, getting away from the loft. So these car bays, you can see we've got these timber posts that land in there. If you remember the on-site videos, we've got this column grid of timber posts that land down in there, and those act as the dividing features for each car bay. And this really formed our program for the building. It really wanted to be split into thirds because that's what the roof line does. If we're looking at the facade of the building, you know, you get that appearance of the three bays from the outside with the extra tall space in the middle, and even the width of the garage doors reflect that. We've got 10 by 8s on the side and then 12 by 8 in the center. And all three of these doors are going to be handmade by an overhead door maker in Vermont. He does really nice work, so they will match, but these two outliers, like I said, will be outswing carriage doors, and this one will appear like that. It'll have fake hardware, but it'll open vertically. And that was another challenge. Go to a section here. So when we're looking at this section, there are some important things to consider when we're looking at this overhead door track. You can see car up on this lift to give you an idea of height in this space. But we have this window on the facade that you saw. This garage door, obviously this track needed to open vertically because it can't contact the lift, can't have it open into that. And also aesthetically, we didn't want it to kind of close off the upper space. So this spring, we've got it modeled in here right now, and you can see that typical spring location lands right where the window is. This was something that we talked with the gentleman who's making these overhead doors, and he said it was not a problem at all to lower this spring track and actually have the door camber back and open past that spring. So it's moments like these in the modeling that are really important to kind of figure out some of those details that are often missed. If we didn't model in a vertical opening track and we just put in a typical overhead door and just use that as a placeholder, that would have been easily overlooked. So we discussed sit panels, we discussed timber built and timber framed methods for this project. You got to see all of this built already, but these sit panels, the timber details, these are all exactly modeled how it is in reality. And we shifted things around a couple inches just to make things work really well. So it's really important to have an accurate model. again, it's all about the details. That's where you can make or break a project in the actual build process. So then talking about exterior finishes, this is a phase we have not got to building yet. We will be soon, but for right now we wanted to get the shell of the building up to winterize it. The roof will be going on next, which will be a standing seam metal panel roof in kind of like a matte black charcoal look. And the lower half of the building, as you can see by the texture on here, we're going to do a river rock veneer stone. The upper part, we're going to do cedar shake to kind of keep it natural. And then we're going to do some timber details around the overhead doors here, up above, kind of a dual height roof line for both of those as well. You can see the timbers come down, land in the center, and then on the sides we've got timber supports basically for each side. And then these roofs that will be added on after, we're going to do, instead of the black standing seam, we're going to do real copper for this. Along with copper gutters in the future, that'll be a really nice accent that'll just pop. Let the copper age a little bit, maybe seal it when it's patinaed. It'll be a nice kind of vintage look to a newer building. Along with that, we've got stamped concrete that'll be going both inside and outside of the carriage house. It's all going to be radiant heat, along with the apron out front. That way you can deal with snow melt, not constantly have to plow this area. That way they can pull cars in and out of the garage with ease, and especially with these out-swinging carriage doors, snow would be quite an issue as far as clearing those, so you can even open the doors. So that snow melt in the apron was almost essential. And along with the radiant heat on the inside, that'll be the main heating source for the building. So that'll be really nice. Adirondacks are really known for pretty harsh winters, so that was an important feature to add. So yeah, that's a little preview of the design process when we were looking at the carriage house. The owner came to us with some pretty loose needs, basically. Just wanted a 40 by 40 garage. He had certain spaces he wanted, like the gym, the loft, and other areas like that. He came to us with the original intent of a pole barn build, but we kind of figured out along the way that he really wanted something better. And we came up with a solution and didn't look back. It's honestly turned out to be a pretty awesome project. We ended up doing timber built and timber frame construction, and it was a good choice. It's really a lot better constructed building with the SIP panels, and yeah, looking forward to the next phase.